Hello and welcome to the Systems for Business podcast. This is our first episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Ben Slater, and I'm going to be taking you through all things scale. How to scale up your income, how to scale your profits, and how to build a business that isn't solely reliant on you. Now, what I've found over the years, especially in the beginning, I felt like building my business was trying to balance on the top of a pinhead. Everything I tried was just not working. The toiling, the fighting, the struggling, feeling like you're in the trenches all day, every day. Now, more recently, my business has started to work for me. I've started to call my business into a higher level of responsibility. It took me over 7 years to figure it out. And the reason, I've had great mentors that have helped me to discover the systems that I needed to be using inside my business. And on this episode specifically, I'm going to be sharing my favorite system with you. This specific strategy will form the basis of all of the stuff that we dive into inside this podcast. You see, this specific system is the anatomy of business. Like we have a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, some organs, a heart, lungs, a mouth. Business has a specific anatomy. There are things that, whether you like it or not, are going to be there. No matter if you run an e-commerce business or a service-based business or a local business, these 6 areas that I'm going to be discussing with you are relevant to you. They're going to be there. And second to this, we need to be building systems in those areas if we want to truly be free. Now, on the back of this episode, I've made a very special training for you. And that training takes a little bit of a deeper dive into the 6 pillars system that I'm sharing with you on this episode. To claim that, there's no opt-in required. You can just head to leadflowmastery.com/scale. There's a 12-minute video there. Dive on it. Get in there. You can download the 6 pillars framework on that page as well and take things a little bit deeper on our journey together. So look, I'm really excited that you're here. Thank you for being a listener of our podcast. If you do love what you hear today, please leave us a review, share it on social media, help us to get our message out to more people so we can help more business owners to scale to that next income bracket. Let's dive in. A great mentor once said to me, Ben, people don't break, systems do. Now, I was very blessed at a very young age to be mentored by a man named Lachlan Cameron. And Lachlan literally gave me the footnotes to the greatest thinkers that had ever lived across the areas of business, philosophy, religion, so many different areas. And that one quote in the area of business stuck with me so consistently through the years. That was around about 8 years ago. And during that time, I've been blessed to become an entrepreneur. I've started multiple different businesses in different areas in the health space, in the business consulting space, in the marketing space, in the personal development area. And what I've found is that all lines lead back to systems in business. Our very business is called Systems for Business. It is the essence of everything that we do and that we teach to our clients. Now, about 24 months ago, I invested a lot of money to go into a business mastermind. It was the most that I'd ever invested to do something of that nature, and it was a huge thing for me at the time. It was around $10,000 per month for me to be there. And I went into the course, and the one thing that I took away more than anything else was when my mentor Scott said to me, Ben, there's only 6 pillars that I want you to be focused on in your business. And in fact, there's only 6 that you'll find. They are mindset, sales, product delivery, lead generation, team and operations, and finance. The first is mindset, second is sales, the third is product, the fourth is lead generation, the fifth is team and operations, and the sixth is finance. Now, Scott gave me an exercise to do at that time. And I remember I was in London and I was feeling really stressed. And I was feeling stressed because I had no systems. I wasn't running things in the way that I'd always wanted to. I was getting stuck into busy work all of the time. I was just hustling all the time just to make sales, to make ends meet. And it was just not the best way of doing things. I was always chasing my tail. And he said, okay, Ben, write down on a piece of paper, mindset. Then the next page, sales. The next page, product. The next page, lead gen. The next page, team and operations. And the last, finance. And what I want you to do is write down every single problem that you have inside your business. Don't worry about solutions just yet. Write down the problem. So I was in London and I remember I wrote down all of the problems and I stood up from where I was sitting. I walked inside and I don't know about you, but have you ever had a shower where you're feeling not good about yourself? So you just lie down in the shower. And I was staying in a place called Knightsbridge and I just lay down in the shower for about 2 hours. And I got out of the shower and I just felt like crying. And the reason that I felt like crying was because I had just pulled my head out of the sand for the first time in a very long time. And as a result, when I started to look around, all I saw was just a flaming inferno all around me in all of these areas. You see, I felt like my business was a child and I was overseas in London at this time and I felt like I'd left my child at home and I was getting reports that they'd thrown a party and that there was a car in the pool. And I'm having all of these huge issues that I'm just facing again and again and again. And it took me a few days to, I guess, synthesize some of the pain that I was in and start moving in a positive direction. But I started to ask myself some questions. And one of the most important questions I think I asked is, if my business is my baby, how might I turn my business into an adult that can drive in a car next to me, that can go to a separate location than I'm going and I'm completely happy? How can I call my business into a higher level of responsibility? And I started coming back to this 6 pillars idea. And I started to look at, well, when were the moments where those pillars were most relevant to me? When were the challenges? But you see, not only that, over the past 24 months, I've worked with hundreds of different business owners and I've put them through the same exercise. What are your biggest problems? And then we start working on solutions. We pull their head out of the sand. And what I realized was that you could put a business on a scale of from $0 to $100,000 a month. And depending on where they were in that scale, I could draw a line directly into the exact pillar that was the issue. So from $0 to $10,000 per month, what I saw was that everyone had mindset problems and sales problems. They didn't know how to sell and they didn't know how to give themselves proof of concept. They were waiting for someone to anoint them in the world to allow them to do the thing they wanted to do. They were worried about certificates and things that they thought might give them the authority to do the thing they really want to do, which is a mindset problem. In reality, you have to anoint yourself and you have to get up there and you have to sell your product to get to $10,000 per month. Once you get there, people typically do that with no real focus on product. It's just willpower. It's the human energy and passion. But you see, when you enter into the next stage, crack over that $10,000 per month, what I saw was that leverage and product delivery was the biggest problem. And once people solved that, it started to move them up to that $25,000 per month. And then from there, from 25 to 50, what I've seen consistently is it's all about lead generation. Once you smash your lead gen and build a system for that, you're now leveraged. You now have a product that you're really happy with. You have a sales system, you have the right mindset, you have all the pieces that you need to scale up your personal business by yourself. But the next thing you need is team and operations, because what you'll find with just those 4 pillars, you will still always have a job. It is the moment that you step into team and operations is where you can start building a real $1 million business that has profits and that can be that adult. So what I found was so many times in the tests that I was running, I would ask people before the test, what do you think your biggest problem is right now? And everyone says finance. Oh, I got finance problem. Yeah, I got a team and operations problem. But then when we actually go in and do the test, in 80% of cases, what I see is it's sales or lead gen or product. It's very rarely a finance problem. Very rarely are there finance problems in business, unless you're a large multinational corporation with a chief financial officer. The only people that have finance problems are CFOs, not CEOs. So this is the breakthrough that I had in that moment. So what I did was I put the 6 pillars on a hierarchy. And I said, well, if this is true, if what I'm seeing here is revealing itself to be a principle, that there are these levels that we go through in business, why don't I just arrange the 6 pillars and teach them sequentially in order based on where my clients are in their business at that moment. And you see, what ended up happening on the back of this is the business owners that I started working with started scaling faster than ever. We had one client who joined us in February of last year. They scaled from $0 per month in their business to $180,000 per month in the space of 10 months. The reason? They followed the 6 pillars framework. They worked through their mindset. Then they built a great sales system. They already knew what they were selling as their product and they were happy with their product. Then they tacked on lead generation. Then they built a team. And then they were able to grow a 7-figure business in the space of a very short amount of time. You see, it took me years to hit my first 7 figures in business. Yet these people did it in 10 months. And this shows you the power of principles. It shows you the power of systems. And I'll take this back to that quote from Lachlan Cameron, people don't break, systems do. You see, back in the day, when I was more elementary in my business, when my business was my baby and not on the same level as me in terms of responsibility, I had no systems. You see, the key, the keystone of these 6 pillars that holds them all together and moves in and out of them is systems. So your goal as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, should be to install systems in mindset, in sales, in product, lead gen, team, and finance. And systems, as a definition, a system is something that you create or someone has created that is a replicable way of generating a result. A replicable way of generating a result. So you look at mindset, for example. How do you feel good about yourself? How do you build your confidence? One thing that I've seen very consistently is it's the entrepreneurs that focus on their health. If I could line up the thousands of people that I've worked with and ask everyone to raise their hand and say who's healthy, and then ask everyone to say who's happy with their business, there would be a direct correlation. Because what I've seen is that at the mindset level, it's confidence. And where this comes from is some of those feminine areas of life. What we're really trying to do in business is we're trying to build wealth and we're trying to influence. We're trying to share our intellect. It's a very masculine style of pursuit. Whereas it's very mind stuff is what I'm trying to say. It's very intellectual. But the body is so critical in providing that intellectual confidence for you. And I always say to my clients, well, if you can't invest an hour into your health every single day, if you can't eat the best foods available to you, what makes you think you're going to build a multi-7-figure business? If you can't treat yourself like the highest paid athlete in the world, what makes you think that you're going to deserve the millions of dollars in income that you can possibly produce as an entrepreneur? You see, this style of thinking at the mindset level, it's all about confidence and proof of concept. So what are the habitual things that you do that make you feel that confidence, that show proof to you that you are of value, that you have worth? What do you do with your self-worth every single day? Do you journal? Do you go down and do some chin-ups or some push-ups? Myself, my favorite thing to do is yoga. I absolutely love yoga. It's been the guiding movement of my life with my body. And you see, without that, if you look at these 6 pillars, what I think about is if we were to put a 6,000 ton block on top of these 6 pillars, which one would be most likely to crack right now? That's your highest point of leverage in your business. And what will happen is if you do not solve the problem at the level of that pillar, you will regress to that level and you'll feel like your business is a baby and it's not at the level at which you would require it to be. Is that making sense so far? It's so incredibly simple. And I really implore you, do not just wave this exercise off because you believe it's too simple and it can't provide the level of breakthroughs at which I'm speaking of. This system that I'm sharing right now has literally been worth millions and millions of dollars to me in my business, but it's been worth tens of millions of dollars to the businesses that I help, because what I do is I bring them back and I help them to pull their head out of the sand and to solve the real problem and sequentially step up to higher levels of responsibility every month, every week, every quarter, every year. So you never get away from these 6 pillars. I am yet to see a business that I can observe in the marketplace or that I can see very close to me that does not have these 6 pillars. The mindset of the leader and the mindset of the team of the business is critical. being able to sell and having your optimal selling system that you run every single time, that you can test, measure, and report, mastering the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit of your sales spectrum, your sales system. Without that, very hard to scale a business. Then you look at product. How is your product differentiated from the marketplace? Are you leveraging your delivery? Do you have DIY, done with you and done for you offerings in your business? This is one of the biggest breakthroughs that I give to my clients, is helping them to differentiate their product offering so that you can make more money per hour that you work in your business. Especially if you're a service business, if you're selling a physical product, what is it about that product that compels your audience to take action with you, to buy from you? Are you selling something that's cookie cutter, that's not truly an innovation for your market? Can they get it somewhere else? You see, these are the best questions that you need to be asking. And without these questions, it's very hard to scale. Another great mentor of mine, Dr. John DeMartini, would always say to me, Ben, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask. And with this 6 pillars framework, I am giving you the exact areas. This is the anatomy of business. So you think of it this way. As a human being, we all have a head, we all have arms, and we all have legs. We all have a core. We all have a heart. We have the organs. We have a brain. We have the left side, the right side of the brain. This is the anatomy of human beings. What we're talking about here with these 6 pillars, this is the anatomy of business. Every single business has this. It's a universal principle. And when you boil something down to that level, that is where the real gold exists. The gold exists in systems and principles, not in tactics. You see, everyone's searching for the magic bullet, the bright, shiny object that's going to save them. But in reality, only you can save you. You're the only person that can pull your head out of the sand and dedicate your life inside your business to build systems. You know the areas at which you need to build them. Yet, how many hours this week have you spent doing that? If you get really honest with yourself and you sit down, how many hours do you spend doing work that continues to work for you? Are you blaming the people in your business, the clients that you work with, the prospects that you have, your team members, or yourself for not getting the results? Or are you blaming the systems that you have in the business? You see, people don't break, systems do. And then we look at lead generation. Most people that I speak with, they want to jump straight to lead gen. You see, we run various levels of product in our business. We have a program that helps people to generate their first $10,000 per month online. We have another product that helps people to scale beyond $50,000 per month. And we have another product that is for people, helping them get from 50 to over that 7 figures, more team and operations stuff. Now, what I consistently see when people first come to us, they want to jump straight to the sexy stuff. They want to build a social media following. They want to get out there and do a lot of content marketing. But here is the thing. Unless your mindset is rock solid, your sales system is closing over 50% of the people that you speak with if you're a service-based business, or if your sales page is not closing 5% of the people that land on your page if you're an e-commerce business, then your sales system is broken. And in fact, you shouldn't be focusing on lead gen. Go back to those earlier pillars, because those earlier pillars, they bear more weight in the scenario. And if they break, there is such a large risk and there is such a large cost for you to fix that. So what I would say is focus on where you are, build the system that you need to build to fix it, and then move to the next stage. Now, my mentor Lachlan, he was full of wisdom, Lachlan. He would say to me, Ben, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And this is kind of what we're talking about here, because it's easy to want to just build a multi-million-dollar business overnight. But the reality is, all you need to do, if you want to eat the whole elephant, you just need to eat it one bite at a time. And this is your systems, coming back to the mindset, the sales, the product, the lead gen, the team and operations, and the finance. You see, I know exactly which pillar that needs the most work in my business right now. It's team and operations. And this is why we work so hard on this every single day. And we're finally starting to get in some serious momentum with the team. But you see, it's taking me probably 12 months of intense focus on that pillar, reading countless books, finding the right principles, finding the right systems. And by day, you start to implement. Your business starts to become more responsible. The biggest mistake that I see with this system is people trying to jump over the pillars. So many businesses that I see, I speak to businesses that are doing $2 million. In fact, I just had a call with a lady 2 days ago, and we spoke about her business. And I said, what do you think your biggest problem is with your pillars? And she said, finance. And I said, okay, well, show me your product range. Let's have a look at your sales system. Let's have a look at your lead gen. Let's have a look at your team and operations before we diagnose this as a finance problem. So this is an art store, and they have some very beautiful art. They sell furniture, and they also had some prints, really, really beautiful prints. And immediately I said, what's the profit margin on the furniture? And she said, oh, not so great, maybe around 10%. And I said, okay, and what's the profit margin on the prints? 65%. I said, okay, how much time and energy do you spend selling the prints? She's like, oh, not so much. I said, do you have a sales system to consistently sell those? No, not really. We've tried, but it's not working. So you see, the finance problem wasn't really a finance problem. It was a sales and product problem in disguise. You see, if she had a system to sell those prints more effectively, the profit margin would immediately go up to 30%, which is where she wanted to be sitting, and the business would scale. So by understanding the relationship between these pillars, you can not only serve your clients a hell of a lot more if you are in the B2B space, but secondly, you can grow your own business. You can grow multiple businesses because you have a well-principled engine. And that is the goal of our work here on the podcast. This specific pillars framework is what we're going to be covering. You see, inside of all of these pillars, at any one time, I have anywhere from 5 to 10 systems that I'm running. I have a journaling system that I use for mindset. I have a seed of life system, which scores myself across the 7 areas of life. And we'll be definitely doing an episode on that into the future. I have a system to create a vision for my business, which is my mindset and helping me to move forwards there. I have a system for what I do with my personal finances, which is mindset. You see, there's a big difference between personal finances and business finances. And most people have those two confused. One of them generates self-worth, and one of them is business finance, got nothing to do with it. So then we look at sales. We have a sales process that we use, a system that we use inside the business. We have an appointment setting system that we use inside the business. We have a podcast system that you're now listening to inside the business. We have a content marketing system that we use. All of these are documented. They have KPIs that we measure against, that we test, and we know if we're performing or we're not performing. If the system works, great, it stays on board and we roll with it. If it doesn't, we either optimize it, we cut it out completely, or we innovate a new solution. So as we go through this journey together, we're going to be jumping in and out of these pillars. And what I'll do at the start of the episode is I'll let you know which specific one we're going to be focused on. We'll talk about stories. We'll talk about the specific systems that you can use inside of those. We're going to be giving you a bunch of things to go and do on the back of these exercises and on the back of these podcasts that you can implement. Trainings, forms, extra things that you can dive into to make sure that you're implementing. Now, as a special offer to my listeners of this podcast, I want to help you in the most effective way that I can. Now, I've set up a small video training, which goes a little bit deeper into the 6 pillars. It actually gives you the framework itself. You see, what I'm talking about here, it's a model. It's a visual model that you can print off and put somewhere in your office. And most of my clients will do things like that. So they're constantly getting into the mindsets that they need to hold, the consistent just actions that they need to be doing every single month, every week, every day, every quarter. So what I've done is I've just produced a small 12-minute video, takes a deep dive into the 6 pillars system. Now on the back of that, there is a form. And what I want you to do, I want you to fill in that form, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions across the 6 pillars of your business. I'm going to get an email that's going to come through to my inbox. I will personally film a video for you. I'm going to send you that video talking about the systems that I want you to install next inside your business. I'm going to help you to diagnose your biggest problem. The video typically will go for about 10 minutes. I'll look at your website. I'll look at your social media. I'll look at what you're selling, how you're selling it. I'll look at your team. I'll look at your profit margins, your lead gen, everything. And I'll give you the exact pillar and the exact problem that I want you to focus on right now. Now, just so you know, this is the exact sort of work that I do with my private clients. And I don't take on many one-on-one clients very often. The last 10 clients that I've worked with in a one-on-one fashion, the average revenue increases that we've been able to create is $490,000 per person. And that's in the space of 12 months. So the principles, the strategies, the tactics, the systems that I'm going to be sharing with you is the exact same knowledge that I used with those clients. I'm not going to hold anything back from you. All I want to do is get you into momentum, because business is a game of momentum. And the best way to get into momentum is do work that continues to work for you. Now, the link for this training is at leadflowmastery.com/scale. leadflowmastery.com/scale. There'll be a link in the show notes just down below as well if you want to click straight through. Awesome. I will see you on the training. Welcome to the Systems for Business podcast. Really stoked that you're here. Really stoked that we can go on this journey together as we build out and help you to scale your business to that next income bracket. Whether you're at level 1 right now, just working on mindset and sales, you're going to get a hell of a lot from your time here. Whether you're at level 2, it's working on leverage and lead gen. We're going to be diving really deeply into that. And whether you already have a business with proof of concept that's leveraged, and you're in level 3 and you're trying to figure out, God, how do I manage this team? How do I get my team to now become responsible adults inside my business? We're going to be covering that as well. And look, please, if you get something out of the episode, if you get something out of the podcast, please give us a review. It allows us to reach and help more business owners. It allows us to spread our message and to give people the answers that they need in terms of scaling up their revenues, their profits, and their business now. So I'm your host, Ben Slater. Really enjoyed it. I will talk to you soon.